guys, my name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. A big shout out to my channel members for supporting my channel. Thank you. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to do some, it's not even setup, it's sort of mapping out how I want my 2023 Hobonichi to go. So we're going to do a side-by-side because I've actually started thinking about this. And although I could start it as of as of December 2022, I actually want to finish out my weeks in this one, my current Hobonichi, and then actually use this for the full year of January through December. The cover is probably a bit glary for you guys, and I don't have a cold, but I sound like I do, so, you know, there's that. But we're going to go through this together. It's probably going to be a chatty video as we kind of go side by side on what I've used and what will continue to be used in that manner, and some things that are going to be a little bit different. And hopefully this is something that you guys enjoy. Alright, so this is my Hobonichi Weeks Mega, and you can see that it's already quite chunky, but this already came with, I think, almost like 100 and something more notes pages than this will. So I'm not expecting this one to get as chunky just because there's a ton of notes pages this one doesn't even have, but I know it will get thicker than this by the end of next year. So I'm going to have these side by side. And I'll keep this one on the right because I am right-handed. And so for this first part, it's probably going to be very similar, where the deco is going to be very light because I don't actually really ever use that. Same with this one. I put these post-it notes in here, and I've never actually grabbed a post-it note out of here. So that's something that will not continue. What will continue, however, is this. So this is where I have my period tracker, and so I do want to bring over the 2022 information here, and because I don't need this, I might actually cut this out and move it here so that I'm always having 3 years worth of what my period is or has been on hand. I just turned 50, so I'm pretty sure menopause is right around the corner. Anytime I ever go to the doctor, they always ask me when's the last time I had a period. So I like having this because I always have this with me, so I can always reference it back, and if I can see patterns and whatnot. This I don't need, so this might actually just be some deco. This here is probably the one and only thing that I wish Hobonichi would set up similar to the cousin, because with the cousin, I believe this is spread over 4 pages. So it's 3 months per page, 12 months over 4 pages. This to me is just not functional. And I've tried to put things here, and you can fit a word, but it's just, I don't refer to it very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to decorate this, and this is going to be my landing spot for the word of the year. Now, once I get to the word of the year in my current one, you're going to see it's not what you typically see. I don't do inspiration or motivation, and I will be continuing not doing that for 2023. For the monthlies, I only use that really for my YouTube channel, and even then I haven't been super consistent on it. And because I don't need December 2022, because I have it in this one, this is actually going to be decorated and an intro to the actual monthlies. So that's really all this page is. It just kind of segues into that we're going into the monthly pages. Now this is the English edition, and I do like that. Although once we get to the weekly section, I'll show you why it doesn't really matter to me whether it's English or Japanese for the most part. I'm not gonna lie, I do like seeing the English language there. So if I go to the next post-it note, that takes me to January 2024. Again, I do want to keep this in a year setup. I am not a planner. I'm more of a journaler documenter archivist, so I write things that have happened. The only place that is different, like I said, is in the monthly section, where I kind of sometimes plan out videos, especially if I have specific videos that are due that month. But otherwise, for the rest of this, it's always documenting things that have happened versus planning things that I want to happen. So because I know that I don't need January, I'm actually going to do another one of those decorated pages where this is just going to introduce some collections, because over the next few pages, I'm not going to need them. So this is the intro to collections. And then the first thing I want to put down is just do some research on what my 2023 horoscope is going to be. So again, just cover this up, decorate it, and just have some fun with it. And then the next one I want for my 2023 Chinese horoscope. It is going to be the year of the rabbit. I don't follow those things hardly ever at all, but I do like to do a little bit of research at the beginning of each new year and just kind of figure out what it is, and then it's something I'll probably never refer to again. But for me, the interesting part of it is the researching, not so much as a daily exercise. And then because I will not be using this until January, all of the weekly pages will actually be just some journaling spots for me, because again, I don't get fussed that I can see the month there. I can cover that up if I wanted to. More often than not, I probably won't, but that gives me some extra space. Plus it makes sense because I realized in 2022, I like the idea of having a place to journal, but I don't necessarily want to journal every day or every week or honestly even every month. But I want to have some place where I can go, and then that leaves the note section in the back left over, because again, I'm dealing with a lot less note pages than I did year over year. And then after these 2 years, one, I don't foresee changing my system because I like it. And two, I'll know, okay, so do I actually need the mega because I need those extra note pages, or are the 70 plus pages in here sufficient? That's really how I'm looking at this, because this is the very first year I've used a Hobonichi Weeks in this way. I had one before, but it was more of an art journal. And so just having the experience of using this, that just really helps me. Okay, so I need to be careful of the dates that I'm looking at. So the second to last week of 2022, I want that to be a landing spot so that I can mark down as I go through the year what worked in my weeks and what didn't. So that's going to be a 2-page spread for that. And then just like in the monthly, this week, again, I'm not going to use. And so I want this to be an intro into my weeklies. Again, just something decorated, something fun for me to look at. It's not something I'm going to look at often, but I do like having it there. And then the actual full first week of January is when this one will start for me, and I do decorations on a weekly basis, and I will flip between this side and this side. I found that I kind of like the look of that. If I just do a quick flip with you guys, I have tried a few different things, and I just find it works to keep all of my tasks in a grouping and then have some other things here. And I will do a flip through of the whole thing towards the ending of the year. But yeah, on a week-to-week basis, it's just whatever I'm feeling like at the time. There is no theme. There is no color palette. That's just whatever I feel like. So now we go back to the notes pages. Now, just one thing I wanted to point out, it never bothered me having the Japanese writing down here because I never cared what it said. It is a Japanese company and they're writing towards their market. These things I probably will never read, and I'll probably continue to do the same thing where I put the actual grouping of the week. And so whether it's in Japanese or English, I don't care. I do like seeing the day of the month here, but again, I always knew what the day was because I always knew it was a Monday start. So I'm happy for it, but it necessarily wasn't a deal breaker for me if it were just in Japanese like it had been. Okay, so for this monthly section, or for the notes section, I should say, this is just a nothing page as it was before. I do like having this little bit of an index, and so I will continue that. I don't know that there's enough lines. It looks like I drew some lines up here, so I will continue to do that as well. And this was my word of the year for 2022, which was potato. And that's the kind of word of the year that I actually really gravitate towards. Something that's nonsense, something that's funny, something that just is ridiculous, because I've tried the whole inspirational, motivational thing, and that just doesn't work for me. Something like this, though, makes me laugh. However, because I have my word of the year in the beginning of the Hobonichi, this is actually going to be my intro to my January trackers. And I will actually continue some of these trackers. Let me show you October. No, let me show you November. So this is the format after months and months and months that I've realized that I enjoy. So I enjoy doing my monthly highlight reel and tracker. And so on this side, it's just some things that made that day a little different from the day before. I don't lead a very exciting life. I go to work, I come home, I do a little bit of shopping, and so all of my days seem very similar, but they're not. And so I just write down a little bit of something here just to give me an idea of what that was. And then on the side, there are some things that I track, and this is really hobby based for me. So I track if I've uploaded videos. I track if I've watched something on the television by way of movies or TV. This does not mean watching YouTube. I actually have never tracked that. I track if I've colored for the day, and I've tracked if I've read for that day. And for me, coloring and reading, even if it's just a few minutes, that's fine. So long as I did the activity for a little bit of time, I do count that. And then I was tracking things I watched and whatnot, and I realized I don't really care because I don't really transfer that information anywhere else. Here is where I track the buddy colors that I'm doing. I had messed up in my counting of pages, and so I turned this into a little fold out. This is the hashtags I do for the coloring things that I enjoy, because that is one of my hobbies. This particular format may not carry over, but I do want to carry over tracking hashtags, tracking buddy colors, and then tracking the books that I have read, because this goes into a reading journal. Because I plan to keep this for maybe a year out. So once this is done, look at this and maybe do a reflection on 2022 versus 2023 at the end of 2023. I don't know that I'm always going to have this, so having some of the information transferred into something that I do want to carry over long term just makes sense for me. And then this coloring stuff for 2023, I'm thinking about setting up a different system where I track it in here, because this is really the only place I need to keep focus on it, but then I track it in my other journal just by way of numbers. Again, I haven't really decided on that. And then the last thing I need to do is I need to count out 12 pages towards the end of my notes pages so that I have a 2-page spread for my monthly bill tracking, because that's where I track my monthly bills every single month. But that is how I am setting up my Hobonichi Weeks. Now, last year, I do remember just jonesing to start this in December because prior to that, I had been using Astrology, and that was fine, but I did need something smaller, and this works perfectly for me. I do have the ability to both read and write small, and I have loved it the entire year. It has just been super functional, super pretty, and I've enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to doing the setup on this. I won't be doing that on camera with you guys just because I've learned over years that setting up and talking through it is not enjoyable for me. And setting up and just setting it to music, it's not my favorite kind of video to watch. And so the next time you'll see my Hobonichi Weeks for 2023, I'll have all of the tabs in, all of the deco, all of the setup for any of the monthly sections or anything I've already put a highlight to. And then I'll just go through it with you guys just so you can see it, less of a conception and more of the actual, if that makes sense. All right, guys. Well, I'd love to know what you think so far. Do you do a year-over-year reference of what worked and what didn't? And what are your plans by way of planners or journals for 2023? I'd love to know in the comment section below. All right. Well, that's it for me for now. And as always, aloha.